Denise and Marcel, how are you guys doing tonight? Great meeting you guys at the meetup. I even got my meetup shirt on still. No, not still. I've had it in the wash many times. I actually bought two of them. Hey, back to good off grid. How are we doing tonight? Yeah, I don't know what Denise and Marcel were eating for dinner earlier. I didn't catch anything on them. Actually, what I watched today on them was they were putting their first sheets of the flooring on the floor joist, and that was pretty exciting for them. I'm glad to see they're making progress. Hey, Tiny Tim Posey, how you doing, buddy? Hello, back to good or back to good off grid. Am I live now? I hope I am. It says I am. Not much, Denise from South. How you guys doing tonight? There we go. We got people popping in now. Lindy Oki's in the house. And just so everybody knows, hey Drew, just so everybody knows, tonight, right now at this time actually, is also the 9 Acre Homesteads or the 9 Acre Family Farm live. And I promised Dale over there that I would keep this one cut back to just a half an hour. That way people can go do both. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. And you guys have been doing good too. I enjoyed watching your video today on putting them first boards up on the floor. The question I have though is where was Gabe at the beginning of that one, or Gage rather? I thought he was going to be right there with his hands on the wood at the beginning, but I didn't see him till almost the end. Well, Drew, I figured I'd use this time to introduce myself. I mean, a lot of people know me as Dollar Seed, which that's fine. I'm also Midline Graphics. I do t-shirts, coffee mugs, stuff like that. Actually, I did some for MT Homestead for the Oklahoma meetup because they didn't have enough of them. And I did some for hey, Paul Honeyman's in the house. How you doing, Sir Paul? But I also did some for Come On Homesteading to help him bring out his new channel name, which is going to be Come On Outdoors. Lynn Yoki, no, Beverly is not my wife. I don't know who she is. We're probably related some way because her name is spelled like mine, but that's all fine. All right, so the seed business I started back in 1980, and I didn't go live with it until 2010 because at the first port I was only buying for my own use and trying to feel things out. But then in 2010, we were giving away a lot of seeds. Believe it or not, we had some really big marigold plants. They were called colossal marigold, and we saved the seeds, and we saved the seeds, and we saved the seeds. Every flower that those plants put on, and they were the size of a dollar bill in diameter. We saved all the seeds from them, and there was a ton of flowers. We had many dishpans full. We let them dry out in our greenhouse, and then we separated the seeds and everything from the plant. And I had started a plant group, a plant swap group, And in order to try to attract people to the plant swap group, I started giving away free seeds. And it was all done by self-addressed stamped envelope. And it got out of hand real quick. We kind of a funny story actually, because we ended up having to start buying marigold seeds from other vendors because we quickly ran out of our stock. We ended up sending out 10,000 free packages of marigold seeds. There was probably 20 seeds in each package, and all the people had to do is just send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we'd put a package of seeds in there with a card and mail it back. And when we got to 10,000 going out, my landlord came to collect rent one day, and the first thing he said is, "Do you realize how much money you would have in the bank right now if you sold every one of them for $1?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would have been some nice chunk of change in the bank." And so after he left, I thought about it for a little bit, and I went and I registered the name dollarseed.com. And I went out and I found the 18 most basic varieties anybody would grow in a garden. And they were almost all vegetables. Within the first week, I got an order for in the neighborhood of about $135 from one couple. It was a small homestead. And I took that money and I started investing it into buying more seeds, more bins, setting it up so that I could have more available. And it was by the end of 2010. So this took about 4 months to really put underway. By the end of 2010, we were up to over 100 varieties of seed. Right now, we're at about 300 varieties of seed. At the beginning, I ran it out of a little room in our house, and actually, that little room was about half the size of this one, like where all this junk is behind me, because I got remodeling going on. So this is like the catch off for everything. That little area right there, that's about the size of my whole seed room at the beginning. And as it kept expanding, I had to move things around. My brother passed away at the same point in time, and he was living in my house in a bedroom, and I was his caretaker. So when he passed away, I moved into the small bedroom that he had, and I turned my big bedroom into the new seed room office area. And at that point in time, we got blown up. I mean, we got blown up. We got hit with companies that wanted us to send them thousands and thousands of packages of seed with their own private labels on them and stuff. So we got into making those. And then a little while after that, we got hit with another company. Well, quite a little while after that. It was in 2012, October 2012. So 2 years later, we got hit with a group called Crisis Education. And they were taking orders for seed kits, and we were putting the kits together and mailing them to their customers. And that was like $45,000 in 3 months. And they fired us on Christmas Day because I couldn't take time out of my life to talk to the owner or CEO or whatever he called himself for that corporation or whatever it was. And so they decided they were going to take it in house, which was fine. I was getting tired of doing it anyway. It took up my whole house. I mean, my living room, I couldn't sit on my couch and watch TV because there were so many empty boxes in my living room every single day. So when we got fired, unfortunately, I had a lot of people working for me at that time. But I was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I met a new girlfriend at that point in time as well. And I told her, I said, you know what? I got to get out of this house. I mean, we can leave the seed business here if we want to. It can cover the rent, but I got to get out of here. So I went to McLean and I rented a trailer. And I also had part of a wood shop area built up for me. So we both went to McLean. We totally remodeled the trailer. We got the wood shop set up so that we could remodel the trailer with all brand new cabinets and everything else. And then we were there for probably 4 years. No, actually, it was till 2019. We bought this house we're in now in 2019, and in 2019 we had the pandemic on its way. 2020 was a bad year, but in 2019 we were also again working out of a small room. It was a lot bigger. It was about the size of this room I'm in right now, It was a spare bedroom. And when the pandemic hit and they said everybody has to stay 6 feet apart, that room would not allow me to have 3 people in that room working, and I had to have 3 people to keep up. So at that point, I decided I needed to buy another building, put it on the property. And so we went out, we bought a 14 by 34. A lot of these guys are doing, shed the houses. We bought a 14 by 34. It was called a deluxe lofted cabin. And I instantly walked out of the seed room and said, you got to learn how to do the mail. You got to learn how to do this. You got to learn how to do that. And I put my girlfriend in charge of the whole business, because my time was now devoted to just being out there in that shed and doing everything I could to get it finished. I mean, it needed everything. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at them in the lot where they have them for sale, but they have nothing in them, and they are always in need of extra work. So that's actually on my channel of them bringing that building in. So then when that building got brought in, and I was actually hiring one of my coworkers to come out in the morning and work with me, because we chose one that has a cedar colored siding with a green metal roof. And oh my God, that green metal roof was absorbing heat like crazy. And of course, we're out there in the middle of June doing this stuff, June and July, I believe it was. I had to wait till August for the company that I bought it from to come out and do work on it. So I could never leave anything in the building overnight, like tools or anything like that, because I couldn't secure the building. Once they came out and I worked with the foreman from the manufacturer of the building, we got the door working. We made it so we could secure the building. It made it so I could do a lot more. And again, I still had my coworker coming out. We'd work from 7 o'clock in the morning until maybe 9:30 in the morning, and then it would get too hot and we had to quit. And it took the rest of 2020 to get that set up. In January of 2021, I brought all of my employees in all at once. And I said, guys, this is what we got to do. We got to take everything out of my house, bring it out here, get it all set up. We're changing the game plan big time. Fortunately, one of my employees is a very, very talented woodworker by trade, and I had him go in and build some shelving and an island in the middle for everybody to package seeds from and whatnot, and put up pegboard walls for all the seeds to hang on. We got a whole shelf along the 14-foot back wall that is just nothing but seed bins. It's full of filing cabinets that are all full of big bags of seed. I mean, when we moved out in that building, we were buying seeds by the pound and breaking them down into individual packages. Everything we do is done by hand, so it takes a lot of people to make that work. But when we reached that stage, I made my girlfriend seed house manager, and I told her, I said, I am not coming out in this building anymore. I spent way too much time out there getting it all done. We had to put in electric, we had to insulate, we had to sheetrock, we had to put in a new floor, we had to trim up everything and do whatnot. So when it came time for me to be able to walk out of that building, and that was on January 1st of 2021, I have only been back in that building to troubleshoot computer problems, because that's part of what I used to do, is work on computers a lot. I actually had a computer store for a while. So when I got everything situated out there, I was like, I'm done with all this stuff. And I started the print business. And it's not busy per se. It's actually kind of slow. But when I do get work, I get a pretty good fair share at times. Well, then on July 21st, or July 22nd, rather, 2021, at my regular job, which was I was working in the chemical industry as a shift supervisor, I got pulled off a loading dock at work by a tractor trailer that pulled out way too quick while I was putting stuff on the truck, and I shattered my left heel, and that took me right out of work. And I've been out of work for them since then, and I'm still on disability, though they don't pay me anything for it. They said they overpaid me somehow, but I still, they pay the doctor bills and medications or whatever I need. But So yeah, I got the print shop running. I take care of that. We've added things to the seed business. Isn't just seeds anymore. We started doing artisan soap products, which is really cool. I got hooked up with a really good company for that one. And again, that's all packaged here. We don't make it, but we package it under our own label and sell it. And then I got this bright idea that, hey, soap is great, but what about people that make soap? They don't know where to go get all of these scents that they want to put into their soap, like lavender and, you know, rose petal and all this other stuff. So I decided we were going to start selling 5 milliliter bottles of that. So we package that ourselves too, or if many different companies put that one together. I actually have a Beaver bottle filling machine, but I don't do it myself. Um, I have my employees do that part. I put the labels on sometimes. The problem is they're childproof caps. So when you put the cap on the bottle, those caps have very sharp edges and they cut into the hands. And you know, being out of work for that length of time, my hands don't take that manual labor like that as much anymore. But so during that time, I also decided because we do have a garage that has a wood shop set up in it still here at our house, and I have a really good woodworker working for me. I said, well, let's start making some cutting boards and charcuterie boards. And when we got into that, I was like, well, there's one more thing we don't have, and that's the butter for the boards. You know, a lot of these guys, when they sell the boards, they just soak them in 100% food grade mineral oil. They dry them off, put them in a box, and mail them out. Well, that's fine if that's the way you want to do it. But that doesn't actually protect the board because it doesn't fill the pores of the wood. And I decided we needed board butter. So I got that kind of computer. I figured out how to make my own board butter. I hired a company out in Texas to laser up some black tins for me. I'd show you one, but I don't have any of the black ones up here with me. But I hired them to do it so I could see what the results of their laser would be because I was thinking I might want to buy that laser. And it was very expensive to hire somebody else to do it. So when they finally finished the job and they sent it back to me, I was super impressed. I was constantly back and forth with them on email. You know, how do I buy the same laser you got? Do you have any discount codes or any codes I could use where you get a kickback from it? All that kind of good stuff. Because if I buy it, it's a business expense. And I bought the laser and I started learning how to use it. And now I've got a lot of different laser projects I'm working on. That's another cool thing. In the room I'm sitting in right now, I actually have 3 lasers set up in here, or two lasers set up in here. And then in my print shop, I have a Xtool D1 laser set up in there. And then the big lasers down on my back porch and in a closed in patio area because that one was not going to be carried up the stairs. That thing it's a monster. I mean, it's a monster. It would not fit in the back of a small pickup truck. My full size Nissan Titan at the time was used to take it off of the delivery truck, put it onto my truck because the delivery truck wasn't 4-wheel drive, just to back it up to my porch in the wintertime. And then it was sat on the truck until my employee Jim from the wood shop came back to work. And I had him help me get it into the house. And we had to dismantle it, bring it in, put it all back together again, stand it up. And then it was going through and doing all the adjustments and everything. Of course, this thing came with like an industrial cooler that you have to use because it's 100-watt CO2. But yeah, I've got all kinds of projects going on. I'm getting into doing slate coasters. I'm going to start doing some slate trevettes for people to put on their counter so they don't burn their melamite countertops with hot pans and whatnot. I've used tile for that myself for in the print shop part of it because I'm cooking stuff at 400 degrees all day long pretty much. So that's been pretty much the run on that. It's been fun. Last year was one heck of a good year, and this year is looking even better yet. And that's when I decided that, you know what, I'm ready to retire. I've been talking to Anthony and Roxanne and Melanie and Gary down there at 41.36, along with Dave at Come On and Mike and Lissa, Drifting Dreamers 5, about getting some land in that area and maybe joining that family part and retire, sell the business, sell the house. That's why the construction's going on in the hallway out here right now, is because that was the worst part of this house when I bought it, and it was the last part of the house I wanted to touch. But yeah, so that's all on the works now. I'm not sure how I'm gonna sell the business because it's not a business a lot of people would want to run because it is very labor intensive. But it does come with its own building and then all the computers and everything that are there to be ready to just plug it in and rock and roll with it. But you probably, unless you buy my house, you got to buy the business and the house if you plan on keeping it here, which is fine. I'll create one heck of a nice package for you if that's what you had in mind. And then you get the wood shop too, because I'm not dragging any of that stuff with me either, and probably most of the print shop, because most of that won't go with me either. But yeah, so my plan is to go to Arkansas, find a nice chunk of land. I was talking to Anthony, and I told he's like, "How much land are you looking for?" And I says, "I'd like to have at least 4 to 6 acres." And Anthony told me, he says, "Look for more." And I was like, "Why?" And he says, "Because you can always do like we do: clear out the spot you want to use, leave the rest of it woods. You got a buffer between you and your neighbors, and not only that, the more land you buy, the cheaper the price gets." So I'm looking into that. Yeah, Paul, I am not going to jump onto bobbleheads land. I don't want to be around that many dogs with my chickens. This is my first year raising chickens. I've only got five, and as of right now, they're only 2 months old. But 3 months from now, they'll start laying me some eggs. But yeah, I don't want to be in an area where there's a lot of dogs like that. I mean, if it was dogs like Gary and Melanie's and Roxanne and Anthony's dogs, and even pretty much Mike's dogs and Dave at Commands, but I don't want to be where dogs are super, super loud. And yeah, Drew, you're right. I'm looking for new land. I mean, there's a spot right next to those guys that just got cleared off or is being cleared off. I wouldn't mind that at all. But again, having some trees around is definitely a plus. And I like my shade. I live in New York right now. And to give you guys an idea why Arkansas is so attractive to me, Anthony from the 41.36, I'm not going to give you the exact number, but Anthony shared with me what they pay in taxes a year. And I almost crapped my pants. Straight up. I almost crapped my pants because here we have 0.59 acres, the house, the garage, the seed house. Our taxes are $6,500 a year. And $6,500 a year for what little land we have is outrageous. My landlord that lives in the trailer that we were living in, or that owns the trailer we were living in, had 4 acres of land, the house, the trailer, 2 barns, and his taxes total is $2,700 a year. So yeah, the county I live in is super, super high. And again, I want a pretty good amount of land. Drew, that's awesome. Yeah, and the 41.36 is probably in the neighborhood of maybe 4 times that amount, maybe a little bit more. So your taxes are kind of high too, there, bud, but not as bad as mine are. But anyway, guys, I told Dale over there to 9 Acres Farm that I was going to cut this one short at 9:30. So if anybody has any questions, I would read them up on here. And first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining in because this is the first one. I'd like to do more. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I actually would like to do more and have another channel right here beside me where we're talking back and forth between us and whatnot, because I think it plays together better that way. Okay, Drew, that's cool. That's one thing I was wondering about too. You guys that live out in the Arkansas area and stuff, it's all Grady and Drew and all you guys. How are your utility bills out that way? I mean, that's one question I've got because here where we are, our utilities are very high. I mean, we use electric heat in the wintertime for the seed house, propane for the house, And then we have a lot of electric running in the house because of the print shop. Plus, we got a lot of electric running out in the seed house because of the lights in the computers and electric heaters in the wintertime and whatnot. And we average in the neighborhood of about $600 a month just in utilities. Tiny Tim, you're another one that plays in that area. So how are your utility bills out that way, guys? Like your electric bill, basically for whatever you're doing with it. I mean, you're not going to use as much electric as I do up here. I can guarantee you that. But ours tripled this year, Denise. It got terrible, terrible. Our electric bill used to be around $195 a month, and Paul, and it literally like tripled over this last year. Actually, between this last year and this year now, and it keeps going up. It keeps going up. The same thing happens like here we have Spectrum Internet and Spectrum TV or cable, and we both use Spectrum phones. Well, just two Spectrum phones is $127 a month, and then our cable and our internet is $197 a month right now. And it got so bad to the point that I actually reached out to T-Mobile and said, "Send me your modem that you do for $50 and let me play with it. Because when we go camping, I want to have internet if I can. And T-Mobile is pretty portable. I can just take it anywhere. I've got power, plug it in, connect to it, and I should be on the good go for it." Not canceling Spectrum, not yet, because even when we're camping, there's somebody working here that needs to have access to the internet all the time, all the time. Some of the print shop requires internet access as well. So, you know, sometimes you just got to have it. Paul, I'm going to do my best to keep this slot on Thursdays, and I'm going to do my best to keep it to a half hour because I noticed that 9 Acre Family Farm is on at 9 for an hour, and I promised Dale I'd only do it for a half hour. But also, I seen another homestead that goes on live at 9. I'm not sure where they're out of or whatever, but I don't want to step on a whole lot of people's toes. And I don't think that doing a full hour of me just sitting here talking and rambling on is going to be enough to fill in any longer of a time slot than I already have here tonight. All right, guys, we're down to 9:29 right now by my clock. So I'm going to tell everybody thank you for joining me. I'm going to try to do this every Thursday night for half an hour, and it'll be the same time. And hope you guys all have a good night. Hey, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up, like button on the way out. Maybe leave a comment. See if we can't get this thing into the algorithm on YouTube a little bit. All right, guys. I'll catch you all later. Catch you over to 9 Acre Farm. Later.